One of my subscribers asked me if I would show how I refresh my soil. And since I am still in the process of doing that, because if you watched any of my videos, you know that I have a very large potted patio garden. So I still have more pots to go. I dumped a pot already in my teal bucket. That's what I have here. I've done nothing to this soil other than dump the pot in the bucket. I haven't pulled any of the roots out. All I did was take the bucket and dump it in, because it was actually a bucket, not a pot. The exact same bucket that I have here, all I did was pull the wood chip off of the top, and now I'm going to just dump it in. I want to make sure that I don't have any roots or anything growing in it. This was something that was growing in this bucket from last year, so I'm just going to toss it to the side. The wind is blowing, so I hope you guys can hear me. And I'm just going to toss this in the bucket. Now, this soil is compacted, which is why I have my little handy dandy tool. And as you guys can see, there are roots in here. I just clean it out just like that. I do my best to go back through and to pull all roots out once I get it into my teal bucket. And all those roots at the bottom I'm going to pull out. So I'm just going to toss those over to the side like so. And what I like to do is go through the soil, pull out as many roots as I can. I look through the soil to see if there are any creepy crawlies in it. I don't want any creepy crawlies in here. And if I don't see anything, and once I pull out all of the roots, or as many as I can't get them all out. You see I've got roots there. I take those, toss them to the side. Now, I'm not going to be able to get them all out, but I do my best to get as many as I can. And I like to use my tool with the fork on the end to be able to do that. I like this little multi-purpose tool. I got it from a local farm store about a month or so ago, and I find I've been using it a lot for the purpose of refreshing soil. So once I go through and pull out as many roots as I can, break up all of the soil that could be in little balls, I break it up. I try to fluff it up, and then I go into the shed, because that's where I keep all of my amendments. And then I begin to add amendments to my soil. So that looks like a piece of wood. Gonna toss that out. I do allow some of the wood chips to stay in here, but some of the big pieces, like I just tossed out, I'm sure you guys heard it when I tossed it, that I'm gonna use as topping when I top my pots or plants or buckets. I use wood chip, and the big pieces I put it to the side. Okay, so I think I got it to where I've got the vast majority of the roots that I feel as if I can get out. And so now I'm going to go in the shed, and in the shed the wind won't be blowing and you won't hear the wind chimes. I have wind chimes in the front, in the back. I got wind chimes everywhere. I love to hear wind chimes. Now I need to replace my wind chimes because the wind has battered them pretty bad, but for right now I still like to hear the little sound that they make. Okay, so now I go into the shed and we're going to start placing the fertilizers. I hope you guys can see I have a lot of mess right now. I have pots everywhere because I've reclaimed a lot of soil. I have roughly about 5 cubic feet of bags that I saved, that I've filled with soil that I've reclaimed. So I have a lot in the shed right now. So I'm just trying to squeeze in, get in where I fit in, right? Okay, so I use Planttone in everything that I fertilize in the garden. I really like Planttone. I've been using it for a couple of years. So I'm going to continue using it because I feel like it works for me. If you are going to be using Planttone, what I recommend is that you're very careful with it because it is extremely dusty and you do not want to get that into your lungs because it can cause a major problem. Okay, now I am taking handfuls. I have 1, 2, 3 handfuls of Planttone. I have more pots I am going to refresh, but I'm showing you this because this is a workable size of dirt or amount of dirt. I also use, hang on one second, I have to get it from behind me, and I've got a lot of stuff that's falling down around me. Okay, I also use Osmocote. This is a container that I'm reusing. It's the Norwegian equivalent, but this is Osmocote. And so I take it and I use about 3 scoops. Just like that. And I also like to add black cow, but I don't have any right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. The Planttone has a bunch of stuff in it, and I will put in the description box below what's in Planttone, and I'll also put some information on Osmocote, the kind that I use, so that you guys can see exactly what's in what I'm using. And then I just toss it up like I'm baking. I just toss it up. Now I'm also going to put some Perlite in this. That is also at my feet. I do apologize for hitting the camera. So I'm going to get my scoop and I'm going to get some Perlite. Again, I want to tell everybody, if you're going to be using anything that has any type of dust particles that can get into your respiratory system, please be mindful, be careful, use some type of mask to not get that in your face. And I took 2 scoops of Perilite, and again, I just mix this up like I would if I was in the kitchen baking, and I just look at it and I determine just from how it looks whether or not it's enough Perlite, and I just toss it around like that. And that, my YouTube friends and family, that is how I refresh soil that was used in the garden the year before. Now, I do not refresh all of my containers. It just depends on whether or not the container is really, really large. If the container is larger than 17 gallons, I may just place the refresh soil on top of the current soil once I take away any of the wood chip, and then add more wood chip, because that soil will depress over time. But if I have a smaller container like you saw me dump in here, I refresh the entire batch because it's easier for me to use a smaller container and refresh. But the very, very large containers, I just add new refreshed fertilizer during the spring, early spring, as well as late in the fall. That way those containers continue to have food and fertilizer. That's it from my garden. I hope you all enjoyed this quick tutorial. Sorry about me hitting the camera. Again, I'm working in a very tight space, but I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you all learned something. I hope that you refresh the soil in your garden and don't toss everything away. If you enjoyed this content, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. I greatly appreciate all of you. Thanks for gardening with me. goodbye for now. I almost forgot the last step. This looks like a whole lot of mess down there. I know. I have reclaimed pots and buckets right here that I need to clean up and put away. I just haven't gotten to that yet because I'm not finished. But all of this mass of mess, this is all reclaimed, refreshed, used soil. And so once I finish freshening up soil that I've already used, I tend to save bags when I purchase soil. And I've purchased soil a couple of times last year, but a lot of this was when I first started getting my new garden together, roughly about 2.5, 3 years ago. Sorry about that, guys. You probably heard me move. About 2.5, 3 years ago, I purchased soil because I had to restart my garden all over again. When you move, you have to start all over. So I ended up buying a whole bunch of bagged soil, and that's why I have all these bags. This year, I think I bought 3 bags because I bought a bunch of 17-gallon containers, and I didn't have any soil to start with. So I bought about 3 bags, and I included compost that I had from my compost bin, mixed it in with some coconut coir that I rehydrated, and I used the soil that I purchased. Now all of this is what I've refreshed. So once I've refreshed it, I pour that refreshed soil into a bag, and then I just stack it up for whenever I need it. And I make sure that none of this soil goes in the house, just in case there are bugs that have hatched that I, of course, would not have seen. But I have not seen hardly any bugs this year in my soil. It is still early though, but I keep this soil out in the garden. So what I do, I hope you guys can see, I take my teal bucket and I pour the soil. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing because I don't know what you guys are seeing, but I pour it inside of the bag. And I've already written on the bags with a Sharpie that this is used, refreshed soil. And then I take my bucket, put it to the side, and I start with another pot or bucket that I need to clean that soil up and refresh it. And that's it. And so when I need to put soil in the garden in the fall, or if I'm going to add more pots or buckets in the garden this spring, I have all of this soil that I can use. And I actually do have some projects coming up that I will be showing you guys later on. And I will be using some of this soil, but for right now, I have soil that I can use at any given time. So now I've got about, let's see, I've got about 6 cubic feet of soil right here that I've refreshed. So if you guys have pots in your garden and you're thinking about throwing that soil away, rethink that and refresh your soil. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for watching.